So Congressman, about Obamacare, what are your thoughts on the vote ahead? Are you gonna do you have a plan to replace it?
The House and Senate are working very closely together to make sure that there's a safety net. I have to say, among my constituents, I've received about 7,000 letters. I'd say 3/4 of those are concerned about the health care that they're getting under Obamacare now, the Affordable Care Act. Many people are concerned that they've lost their traditional doctor. So the doctor-patient relationship has disappeared. Many people have confronted very high deductibles and premiums, and in some states, members of Congress tell me, there's only one insurance carrier for the entire state. And as I look around the 4 counties I represent, Sussex, Morris, Passaic, and Essex counties, all of whom have great hospitals, we've seen hospitals getting bigger as a result of the passage of Obamacare. And quite honestly, I don't think bigger is better. A lot of doctors are getting out of healthcare entirely because of malpractice costs, not because of their bad practice, but because insurance is so expensive. So Congress is going to take a look, moving towards replacing and repealing Obamacare, and we will have a plan that makes sure that those who are most vulnerable in our society, their needs are met. Because
so there are 20 million people that didn't have insurance before. Are they going to have it when you repeal Obamacare?
I think they're going to have it, and I think it'll probably be better care than what they have now. Most of the focus is, and I believe there are aspects of the existing law which I think are important. We need to obviously cover issues that relate to pre-existing conditions, and about between 5 and 10% of those that make up most of the cost of medical care are in that category. So I think much of what we'll be focusing on is how do we take care of those with pre-existing conditions. And I think the new legislation will carry on the coverage for young people up to the age of 26. So they're covered under their parents' policy. So certainly there's a real demand that we do something. We made a promise, but I do like the expression, the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. So I think we're going to proceed with caution.
So you think that you'll have that in place when you dismantle Obamacare?
Yeah, that's the promise of both the House and Senate leadership as well as the incoming administration.
Yeah, we've heard some talk among Republicans in Washington that they might be willing to fund the wall with Mexico before Mexico pays a dime on it. As the head of the House Appropriations Committee, how do you feel about that? Should we build this wall?
Well, we have a wall now of, I think, 600 miles. And when President Obama became president, he stopped the building of the physical wall. I think in some areas we need to continue to build the physical wall, but I think we need to make sure we have a virtual wall, eyes in the skies, because there are a lot of people coming into our country, not those necessarily seeking a better life, but those who are involved in human trafficking, the drug trade, and doing all sorts of things in terms of criminal activity. So I think as we proceed, Congress will work with the White House to see that the wall, whether it's virtual or a permanent structure, that we can afford it and it's done well.
So when it comes to actually spending tax dollars to build this wall, what do you feel?
We spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year paying for the Immigration and Naturalization Service, as well as law enforcement all along the border of certain portions of California, Arizona, and Texas right now, and probably more because we don't have a physical wall in some of those places.
Now you were not that huge a fan of Mr. Trump before his election. What are we in for these next 4 years with Donald Trump? We see he's made a lot of statements. He's tweeted a lot of things that have our allies very concerned.
Well, I think when he assumes office on January 20th, I'm not sure he'll change his style, but I think he'll do a good job as commander-in-chief. I think for the last 8 years, with all due respect to President Obama, he's been leaning back, and our adversaries around the world, primarily the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans, have taken advantage of the president's ambivalence about national defense. One thing about Donald Trump is that he has strong feelings about national defense, and he'll be supportive of our military, particularly our special forces people.
So those who feel differently about him have been trying to meet with you, this 11th for Change group, among others. Will you be keeping the lines of communication open?
No, I'm busier than I have been, so it's not a question of not wanting to meet with people, just a question of coordinating my schedule. But I continue, as I did yesterday, to be out among the community. Yesterday I was out celebrating the Chinese New Year's with probably 600 or 700 people. Many people came forward and said we appreciate the work you're doing and the fact that you're always among us. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Congressman.